A nation divided, the seeds of discord. The birth of Pakistan in 1947, born out of the partition of British India, was an experiment unique in its geographical conception. Two wings, East and West Pakistan, were separated by 1,000 miles of Indian territory. This physical separation was compounded by linguistic, cultural and economic disparities. West Pakistan, dominated by Urdu-speaking elites, held the reins of power and resources. East Pakistan, home to the Bengali-speaking majority, faced systematic discrimination and economic neglect. The region's rich cultural heritage was marginalized, and its people were treated as second-class citizens. Bengalis were denied their rightful share in government jobs, development projects, and political representation. The seeds of resentment sown in the early years of Pakistan's existence grew into a powerful movement for autonomy. This movement, led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, gained momentum after the 1970 elections. The Awami League, under Rahman's leadership, won a landslide victory, securing a majority in the National Assembly. However, the West Pakistani establishment refused to accept the results, further fueling the flames of discontent in the East. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change the course of history. Operation Searchlight: Unleashing Terror. On the night of March 25, 1971, the Pakistani army launched Operation Searchlight, a brutal crackdown aimed at crushing the Bengali independence movement. What followed was a campaign of systematic violence and terror unleashed upon the unarmed civilian population of East Pakistan. The army, along with its local collaborators, targeted Bengali intellectuals, students, politicians, and Hindus. Thousands were killed in cold blood, their bodies dumped in mass graves or left to rot in the streets. Women were subjected to unspeakable horrors, becoming victims of mass rape and sexual violence. Villages were razed to the ground, forcing millions to flee their homes in search of safety. The world watched in horror as gruesome tales of atrocities emerged from the war-torn region. The Pakistani army's actions were not just acts of military suppression, but a deliberate attempt to commit genocide and ethnically cleanse East Pakistan of its Bengali population. The world bore witness to one of the most horrific chapters in human history. The international community responded with outrage and condemnation, but it was too little, too late for the millions who suffered under the iron fist of the Pakistani military junta. India's predicament, a moral imperative. The brutal crackdown in East Pakistan triggered a massive humanitarian crisis. Millions of refugees fleeing the violence and persecution poured into neighboring India. The influx of refugees, mostly Hindus, strained India's resources and tested its secular fabric. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, deeply moved by the plight of the refugees, appealed to the international community to intervene and stop the genocide. However, her pleas fell on deaf ears. The Cold War politics of the time prevented any meaningful action from the superpowers. The United States, a staunch ally of Pakistan, turned a blind eye to the atrocities being committed. Faced with international indifference and the worsening humanitarian crisis within its own borders, India had a moral obligation to act. India provided shelter, food and medical aid to the refugees. However, the sheer scale of the crisis was overwhelming. The presence of millions of refugees also posed security and economic challenges for India. India realized that the only way to resolve the crisis was to support the Bengali people's struggle for independence. It was a difficult decision, but one that India had to take. War and liberation, the birth of Bangladesh. On December 3, 1971, Pakistan launched preemptive airstrikes on Indian airfields, marking the beginning of the war. India responded decisively, launching a three-pronged offensive into East Pakistan. The Indian army, fighting alongside the Mukti Bahini, the Bengali resistance fighters, made swift advances. The Pakistani forces, demoralized and outnumbered, were no match for the determined Indian and Bangladeshi forces. Within 2 weeks, Indian troops had reached the outskirts of Dhaka, the capital of East Pakistan. On December 16, 1971, Pakistani General A.A.K. Niazi signed the instrument of surrender, bringing an end to the war. The surrender marked the birth of a new nation, Bangladesh. The victory was a testament to the courage and determination of the Bangladeshi people, who fought valiantly for their freedom. The 1971 war had a profound impact on the Indian subcontinent. It led to the dismemberment of Pakistan and the emergence of Bangladesh as an independent nation. The war also enhanced India's stature on the world stage, showcasing its military prowess and its commitment to upholding human rights and international law. The birth of Bangladesh remains a